Eli had never thought that moving into a new apartment could be this stressful. Space stations were supposed to be efficient, clean, and orderly. Yet here he was, standing in the middle of a tiny living room with a box of his belongings and a roommate he barely knew. Kale, his assigned roommate, stood silently across the room, watching him with eyes that shimmered like liquid amber. Eli had seen alien species before, studied them in classes, even read dozens of research papers, but nothing had prepared him for living with one. Kale's skin shifted subtly with every emotion, a soft ripple of color that moved across his arms and shoulders. Right now it was a calm, pale green, which Eli assumed meant neutral. The alien was tall, almost unnervingly slender, and moved with a grace that reminded him of dancers on hollow programs. Kale didn't speak, only tilted his head slightly, watching Eli with quiet curiosity. I guess I'll start unpacking," Eli said, forcing a smile. Kale nodded, a slow, deliberate motion, and turned back to a corner of the room where a small bundle of strange devices lay. Eli didn't know if they were furniture, tools, or something more personal, so he wisely stayed away. The apartment was small but practical. 2 bedrooms, a shared kitchen, and a bathroom with a view of the station's glowing corridors. It was clean, sterile even, but Kale had placed a few items around, hanging crystals that pulsed faintly, a plant that seemed to float slightly above the floor, and a small, patterned rug that shimmered under the lights. Eli admired the effort without understanding it. Alien decor was always a puzzle. Eli's first night was quiet. He tried to focus on organizing his things, setting up his workstation for the research job that had brought him here. Kale moved silently around the apartment, humming softly, a sound Eli couldn't identify as music or speech. It was gentle, almost hypnotic, but there was a strange energy in it, a vibration in the air that made Eli glance over every few minutes. By the second day, Eli realized Kale's habits were unusual. He didn't use furniture in the normal way, preferring to lean or hover in positions that made Eli uneasy. His meals were tiny, precise, and brightly colored. Eli wasn't sure if they were food or some kind of chemical experiment. Most odd of all were the nights. Kale would hum sometimes for hours, and Eli noticed a faint glow in the apartment that seemed to respond to the tone. The lights flickered slightly, shadows dancing along the walls in rhythm with the sound. "What's going on?" Eli muttered to himself one evening. "Is it normal for aliens to hum like this?" Texts on alien species were thorough but vague on cohabitation, especially when it came to social or biological cycles. One note caught his eye. Many species experience seasonal biological shifts. Observe and respect. Disturbance may provoke unintended responses. "Not my problem, I hope." Eli finally got out of bed and cleared his throat. Kale, everything okay?" Eli cautiously approached, trying not to upset the alien. He picked up the device. It was a small, glowing orb that pulsed with a warm light. As soon as he touched it, the aroma intensified and Kale let out a sound that could have been a sigh or a warning. Eli set it down immediately, retreating a few steps. Okay, he said, holding up his hands. I'm not touching anything else." Then there were bursts of energy, humming, floating, glowing, arranging objects in patterns, and pacing the apartment. Eli recorded everything discreetly, partly out of curiosity, partly because he was worried about safety. One evening, Eli was cooking a simple meal in the kitchen when Kale entered, moving with a speed and grace that almost made him invisible. The alien's skin glowed a deep amber, and his humming resonated like a low note from a giant instrument. Eli froze, spoon in hand. The room seemed charged, alive. "Kale, what is happening?" Eli asked softly, afraid of startling him. Kale paused, tilting his head. Then very slowly he gestured to the small bundle of glowing crystals he had brought in. They arranged themselves into a circle on the floor, pulsating with light. Eli took a step back. The glow reflected off the walls, ceiling, and Eli's own face. It was beautiful, almost mesmerizing, but he had no idea what it meant. He remembered the library note. "Observe and respect. Disturbance may provoke unintended responses." He stood quietly, watching as Kale moved within the circle, arms lifted, humming growing louder. The patterns on his skin changed rapidly, displaying shades Eli couldn't even name. He felt like he was witnessing something sacred, an ancient ritual that humans had no right to interrupt. Hours passed. Kale's movements slowed, the hum softened, and the light faded. Eli finally exhaled, unsure whether he had survived unscathed or just barely escaped some alien storm. "You're intense," he said quietly, half to himself, half as an attempt at conversation. Kale glanced at him, skin shifting to a soft pink, then green. Eli wasn't sure what it meant, but it felt like acknowledgement. Over the next week, Eli tried to adapt. He started keeping the apartment extra clean, learning the timing of Kale's cycles, and avoiding the glowing crystals during the more intense sessions. He even researched alien pheromones, realizing that the sweet aroma was a natural part of Kale's biology. Each night, he took notes, sometimes sketching patterns and colors, feeling like an anthropologist in his own home. One morning, Eli woke to find Kale standing at the window, looking out at the station. His skin was a calm blue, but the subtle shimmer of light hinted at excitement. Kale turned to Eli, and for the first time, Eli felt a connection beyond simple cohabitation. The alien wasn't just a roommate. He was a being with needs, fears, and a rhythm Eli had only begun to understand. Eli smiled, exhausted but curious. "All right, Kale, whatever this season is, I'll do my best, just don't explode anything, okay?" He realized then that living with an alien roommate wasn't just about tolerance. It was about learning, adapting, and respecting life that was completely different from his own. The next night, as Kale's humming began again, Eli didn't retreat to his bed. He sat quietly in a chair, watching the patterns of light, the rhythm of sound, the subtle movements that made Kale who he was. The apartment smelled faintly of sweet blossoms and electricity, a strange but oddly comforting combination. Eli realized that this was only the beginning. The season had started, and he had no idea what would happen next, but for the first time he wasn't scared. He was ready. By the end of the week, Eli had become part of the rhythm. He knew when to stay away, when to watch, when to speak softly, and when to simply observe. Kale's behavior was unpredictable, yes, but it was also fascinating, a puzzle that challenged every instinct Eli had about biology, friendship, and the limits of human understanding. And though Eli had only just begun to understand Kale's cycles, he also began to notice something else. Humans had a strange kind of power too. Even in an alien home, under alien rules, humans could adapt, improvise, and create safety where none existed. He could anticipate danger, offer comfort, and even participate in an alien world without violating it. Eli leaned back in his chair that night, letting the soft hum fill the apartment, letting Kale move and glow as he pleased. He felt a strange pride in his own ability to adapt. Maybe humans were fragile, yes, but they were also clever, resourceful, and endlessly curious. And here, in this tiny apartment on a massive space station, that human quality mattered more than he had ever realized. Kale's skin shifted to a calm, serene green, signaling the end of that night's ritual. Eli quietly closed his notebook and whispered, "Good night, Kale. Tomorrow we'll see what comes next." Eli didn't know what the coming days would bring, but he was ready to face it. After all, in a universe full of mysteries, nothing could have prepared him for living with Kale. And yet he felt, strangely excited. The season had begun. The next morning, Eli woke earlier than usual. His alarm was a soft hum from the station's system, but he barely noticed it. Something had shifted overnight. The apartment smelled stronger, a mix of flowers, ozone, and something he couldn't quite name. He blinked at the light, which flickered faintly, then realized it wasn't the lights, it was Kale. Kale was already moving through the apartment. His skin shimmered in waves of yellow and orange, a rhythm that pulsed like music Eli couldn't hear. He hovered near the counter, picking up small, crystalline objects and arranging them into patterns. The objects glowed faintly when touched, almost as if they were alive. "Morning," Eli said cautiously, rubbing his eyes. You've been at this since when?" Eli guessed it meant neutral, though he wasn't confident. Kale didn't answer with words, he rarely did. Communication was in gestures, colors, hums, and the strange energy that radiated from him during his cycles. Eli took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll just watch." He moved to a chair and sat quietly. He had learned over the past week that intervention usually made things worse. The glowing crystals were arranged in a pattern Eli couldn't understand, and Kale's movements had a purpose that was alien, intricate, and clearly important. Hours passed. Kale moved with precision, touching each crystal, humming a note that seemed to resonate in Eli's chest. The smell grew stronger, almost sweet, and Eli felt lightheaded, though not uncomfortably so. He realized he was witnessing the start of Kale's full cycle. He didn't understand all the details, but one thing was clear. Kale was in the middle of something vital to his species. Eli stood and walked carefully to the kitchen, pretending to be busy with breakfast. He didn't want to distract Kale, but he also couldn't just sit and stare all day. He prepared some simple protein packs and water, leaving them on the counter. Kale glanced at him briefly, colors flickering in rapid succession, then returned to his ritual. Eli noticed that the alien wasn't eating yet. The focus was entirely on the arrangement and the hum. By midday, the apartment felt alive in a way Eli had never experienced. The glow from the crystals reflected on the walls, creating moving patterns of light. Kale's skin shifted continuously, painting a story Eli couldn't read. The hum grew louder, richer, almost like a melody he could feel rather than hear. Eli's curiosity overcame his caution. He stepped closer, careful to stay outside the circle Kale had formed. "Do you need help?" I don't know how, but..." Eli's voice trailed off. Kale paused. The hum softened. The color shifted to a warm amber. Then he gestured toward Eli, not aggressively, but almost invitingly. Eli frowned. He wasn't sure if he should move closer or stay put. After a long pause, he carefully crouched just outside the glowing circle, hands visible to show he meant no harm. Kale tilted his head and reached out one hand, hovering just above a crystal. A pulse of light shot through it, and Eli felt a warmth flow through the room. He realized then that these crystals were more than decoration. They were responsive, sensitive to touch and energy. Kale's species clearly used objects in ways humans couldn't begin to understand. Eli couldn't help but marvel. This is incredible," he whispered. "You're like some kind of living symphony." Kale didn't respond with words, but the soft hum shifted almost like a laugh. Eli smiled nervously. The rest of the day passed in a blur of observation. Kale's cycles intensified. He floated, moved, arranged, and hummed continuously. Eli noticed patterns emerging, repetition, symmetry, a kind of logic in the chaos. He jotted notes in his tablet, documenting everything from color changes to hum vibrations. Humans were adaptable, and Eli felt proud of his own ability to understand even a fraction of this alien ritual. Late afternoon brought an unexpected complication. A visitor arrived, a small, insected alien from another part of the station. It hovered at the door, curious, antennae twitching. Kale froze. His skin flickered red briefly, a warning Eli assumed. The visitor seemed unbothered by Eli, but clearly fascinated by the glowing crystals. Eli stepped forward quickly. Hi, this is a private space. Kale is busy," he said, waving his hands. The alien tilted its head, not understanding, then made a soft clicking noise. Kale's color shifted rapidly, and the hum turned sharp, almost a warning tone. Eli realized the situation could escalate fast if he didn't act. Thinking quickly, he guided the visitor back toward the door, speaking in calm, measured tones. "Easy there, friend. This is a sensitive moment. Let's continue this later." The alien clicked again, but seemed to understand enough to leave. Kale's color gradually returned to amber, and the hum softened. Eli exhaled. That had been close. He realized that Kale's mating season wasn't just a personal experience. It could attract attention, cause misunderstandings, or even provoke danger if outsiders interfered. Humans, he reminded himself, had a skill that was valuable here, quick thinking under unpredictable circumstances. That evening, Eli prepared a small area outside Kale's circle with food, water, and a blanket. He wanted to be ready if the alien needed help or rest. Kale noticed, colors shifting in curiosity, then appreciation. Eli felt a tiny thrill of satisfaction. He was becoming part of this alien rhythm without disrupting it. As night fell, Kale's cycle entered a new phase. The hum became more complex, layered, almost musical. Eli watched in awe as Kale moved through patterns that seemed impossible, interacting with the crystals in ways that created a faint, shimmering field around him. The room pulsed with light, color, and sound. Eli couldn't resist asking softly, "What is this like for you?" Kale paused, eyes meeting his. The color shifted to a gentle violet, a calming shade, and he extended a hand toward Eli. Hesitant but intrigued, Eli reached out. As their fingertips almost touched, a wave of warmth passed through him, a silent communication beyond words. He realized then that Kale was trusting him, involving him in this deeply personal process without saying a single word. It was exhausting, mesmerizing, and beautiful all at once. Eli felt a strange connection forming, not just as roommates, but as beings from completely different worlds learning to understand each other. He realized that this was what humans excelled at: empathy, observation, and adaptation. Even in alien chaos, humans could find a way to coexist and contribute. By late night, Kale finally paused. He floated in the center of the circle, breathing, or whatever passed for breathing in his species, calm and steady. The crystals glowed softly, lights dimming. Eli sat nearby, notebook closed, simply observing. He felt a sense of accomplishment, pride, and even friendship he hadn't expected. "Good job today," Eli said quietly, feeling slightly foolish for speaking aloud. Kale's skin shifted to a soft gold, and he made a small, low hum that Eli interpreted as acknowledgement. It was enough. Before going to bed, Eli reviewed his notes. Patterns, cycles, colors, and behaviors. He realized the challenge wasn't just surviving Kale's mating season. It was understanding it, respecting it, and learning to work alongside it. Every day would bring new surprises, new problems, and new discoveries. Humans had an advantage: curiosity and ingenuity. Kale's biology might be strange, unpredictable, and overwhelming, but Eli could observe, adapt, and contribute. He could help Kale safely navigate the season. As he lay down, the hum continued softly in the background, almost like a lullaby. Eli closed his eyes, exhausted but excited. Tomorrow would bring more intensity, more unpredictable behavior, and more challenges. But he was ready. He had learned patience, observation, and the value of empathy. He had discovered that even in the strangest, most alien circumstances, humans could shine. The station outside continued its endless hum of engines, lights, and distant chatter. Inside the small apartment, an alien floated in a circle of glowing crystals, humming a melody only he could fully understand. Eli, human, watched quietly, a silent partner in an extraordinary ritual that neither fully understood yet both respected. And as sleep overtook him, Eli realized one thing clearly. Living with Kale would be chaotic, exhausting, and confusing, but it would also be one of the most remarkable experiences of his life. Tomorrow, the season would deepen. Tomorrow, he would face new surprises. And tomorrow, he would continue learning what it truly meant to coexist with someone from a world so unlike his own. The adventure was only just beginning, and Eli, wide-eyed and curious, was ready to follow wherever it led. By the third day, Eli had begun to understand the rhythm of Kale's season, but understanding didn't make it any less overwhelming. The apartment had transformed from a normal living space into a chaotic display of light, color, and sound. Every morning, Eli would wake to the pulsing aroma, the glowing crystals, and Kale moving like a conductor in a symphony only he could hear. Eli had learned to anticipate when the intense phases would arrive and to stay calm, but even he could not predict the surprises that each new cycle brought. That morning, Eli's sleep was interrupted by a sudden vibration in the floor. He sat up, heart racing, as the apartment lights flickered. Kale hovered in the center of the living room, skin flashing bright crimson and gold. The humming had changed, now a rapid, high-pitched rhythm that made the hairs on Eli's arms stand on end. He recognized this as a warning, or maybe a signal of heightened activity. "Okay, okay," Eli muttered, rubbing his face. "Don't panic, just stay out of the way." The crystals floated in the air now, spinning slowly as if charged with energy. Eli had never seen anything like it. He was careful not to approach too closely but watched in awe as Kale arranged the floating objects with precision. Light bounced off the walls, creating shapes that seemed alive. Shadows danced along the ceiling, moving in perfect synchronization with Kale's rhythm. Mid-morning brought an unexpected complication. A group of small alien creatures from the station's corridors entered the apartment, attracted by the glowing light and humming vibrations. They hovered just inside the doorway, curious, their antennae twitching, wings humming softly. Kale froze, skin flickering with intense colors that Eli couldn't immediately identify. Kale," Eli said quietly, stepping forward. The alien turned his head slowly toward him. Eli held his hands up. "They're not dangerous, just curious." He realized that if the visitors got too close, Kale's reaction could unintentionally harm them or, worse, damage the apartment. Thinking quickly, Eli activated a small hollow screen on his wrist, projecting calming lights and sounds from a research program on alien social behavior. The small creatures paused, tilting their heads. Kale noticed immediately, slowing his movements, the pulsing of his skin softening. Eli realized he had bought a few minutes of safety. "See, easy," Eli whispered, even though his own heart was racing. "Just calm, okay." Eli noticed that the crystals responded not only to Kale but also to his own presence. The patterns in the air seemed to shift slightly when Eli moved, as if inviting him to participate, but he resisted. Observation was safer. Suddenly, one of the crystals shot forward, spinning erratically. Eli ducked instinctively, and it collided with the wall, sending sparks of energy across the room. Kale let out a sharp, musical sound, skin flashing bright turquoise and magenta. Eli froze, unsure if he had just caused a serious offense. Kale hovered in place for a moment, the hum vibrating through the room. Then, with a sudden flick of his hand, the crystal returned to its position, glowing calmly once more. Eli exhaled, amazed. Kale's control over the environment was unlike anything he had ever seen. Humans could adapt, yes, but the alien's power made the human sense of safety feel fragile. By evening, the station's intercom system began to react to the energy in the apartment. Lights in nearby corridors flickered, and a few residents stopped to peer through the windows. Eli realized that Kale's season was not contained. It affected the immediate environment. He hurried to calm curious neighbors before they caused any misunderstandings. "Listen," Eli said softly to the few human neighbors he could reach. "It's just biological, no danger, please don't panic." His voice was calm but firm. He felt a surge of pride. Humans could adapt to alien chaos. They could manage unpredictability with logic, empathy, and quick thinking. Even in the most confusing situation, humans could find a solution. Kale seemed to notice Eli's efforts. His skin shifted through shades of green and violet, which Eli interpreted as a mix of appreciation and curiosity. It felt like a silent acknowledgement. This human could be trusted. Eli realized that trust was crucial in this season. Kale's biology demanded privacy, control, and respect. Eli's human adaptability allowed him to meet all three. Night brought a new challenge. The apartment became a swirling vortex of light, color, and sound. Kale floated above the crystals, arms raised, humming in complex patterns. The air shimmered, carrying the sweet aroma that now filled every corner. Eli could feel it on his skin, almost like a gentle vibration. He had learned to breathe deeply and stay focused. Panic would only make things worse. Suddenly, the humming shifted again, this time lower, more rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Kale's eyes, liquid amber, locked onto Eli's. The connection was immediate, and Eli felt a pulse of energy pass through him. He understood, somehow, that Kale was inviting him to observe more closely, to participate in the rhythm of the ritual without interfering. Eli moved slowly closer, careful not to enter the central circle. He marveled at the alien's precision. Kale manipulated multiple crystals at once, each one spinning, glowing, and resonating. The patterns in the air seemed alive, moving with intention. Eli realized this was more than biology. It was art, communication, and emotion all in one. Humans often relied on words, but Kale's species spoke in light, sound, and energy. Eli felt honored to witness it. The peak of the cycle arrived around midnight. Kale's skin glowed a brilliant combination of colors, shifting constantly. The humming reached a crescendo, layered and powerful, filling the apartment and beyond. Eli noticed the floating crystals had formed intricate geometric shapes, spinning and merging in complex patterns. The room seemed larger than it was, expanded by energy and light. Eli felt a surge of excitement. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the peak. He had learned patience, observation, and restraint. He had adapted to Kale's rhythm and even helped protect the apartment from outside interference. Humans could survive chaos, even alien chaos, with intelligence and empathy. Suddenly, a small accident occurred. One of the crystals floated too close to the ceiling vent, sparking briefly. Eli's instincts kicked in. He lunged to redirect it, catching it just before it hit anything else. Kale's skin shifted to soft yellow, a calming shade. He hummed a low, appreciative tone, and Eli realized he had earned trust not only by observation but by action. Humans were clever, yes, but humans could also act decisively when needed. That combination of thought and action was something aliens respected. After a long hour, the peak ended. Kale floated down, breathing slowly, the crystals gently settling back into their resting positions. The apartment was quiet, glowing softly, and Eli felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had survived another intense day, but more importantly, he had learned, adapted, and contributed. He felt stronger, capable, and deeply proud of what humans could achieve. Kale finally moved toward him, hovering a few feet above the floor. The color of his skin shifted to a calm green, then soft gold. He extended a hand toward Eli. Eli hesitated only a moment before reaching out. Their fingertips nearly touched, and he felt another pulse of energy, not dangerous but alive. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, trust, and something he couldn't put into words. Eli smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "Good job today," he said quietly. Kale hummed in response, the sound gentle and almost musical. Eli realized that he and Kale were learning from each other. Kale was teaching patience, focus, and respect for alien life. Eli, in return, was demonstrating human adaptability, problem-solving, and the ability to coexist. Lying down later that night, Eli thought about the intensity of the day. The apartment still glowed faintly with residual energy from Kale's ritual. The sweet aroma lingered, reminding him that the season was far from over. He closed his eyes, imagining the challenges tomorrow would bring. There would be more unpredictability, more chaos, more opportunities for humans to prove themselves adaptable, clever, and empathetic. And Eli felt ready. Kale's season might be strange, loud, and overwhelming, but it was also beautiful, fascinating, and full of lessons. Humans had a special ability to observe, understand, and act in ways that made even alien chaos manageable. That realization gave him confidence he hadn't felt before. The apartment grew quiet, the crystals dimming to soft glows, Kale finally resting in a corner. Eli, fully awake, whispered to himself, "Tomorrow, we'll see what comes next." He was ready to meet the next challenge. Because humans were remarkable, they could adapt, endure, and even thrive in situations no other species might survive. And living with Kale during this strange and powerful season was proving that in the most extraordinary way possible. The station hummed outside, oblivious to the extraordinary events inside the small apartment. Eli closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of trust, friendship, and understanding grow between himself and Kale. The peak had passed, but the season was not over. Tomorrow would bring new surprises, and Eli, human, was prepared to face them. For the first time, he understood the full scope of what it meant to coexist with an alien species, and he knew, deep down, that humans could shine in even the most unpredictable circumstances. The season raged on, the apartment pulsed with quiet energy, and Eli, fully alert and fully alive, waited for the next phase, ready to meet it head-on. The next morning, Eli woke to a sense of quiet tension. The apartment was calm for now, but the smell of flowers and faint electricity still lingered in the air. Kale floated near the window, watching the station corridors far below. His skin shifted softly between pale green and amber, a rhythm that Eli had begun to recognize as alertness. The alien season was far from over, and Eli could feel that something new was coming. Eli stretched and moved carefully around the apartment, making sure not to disturb the subtle arrangement of crystals that Kale had left overnight. He had learned that even small movements could trigger changes in the alien's environment. The crystals had settled into a complex pattern that pulsed faintly with light, almost like they were breathing. Eli marveled at the beauty of it and at the alien's ability to control such a delicate balance. "Good morning, Kale," he said softly. Kale turned to look at him, skin flickering soft violet and gold. Eli took it as a greeting. The alien made a low, melodic hum which Eli had come to recognize as a friendly response. Breakfast was simple. Eli prepared a small meal and left it on the counter. Kale ignored it for now, focusing instead on a small device that emitted faint pulses of light. Eli watched quietly, learning the rhythms of the alien's attention and energy. It was strange to live with someone whose needs and communication were so different, yet Eli felt increasingly capable. He could anticipate Kale's moods, his movements, and even the timing of his rituals. Humans were adaptable, and he was proving it in real time. By mid-morning, the calm shifted. Eli noticed a subtle vibration in the air, a signal he had learned to recognize. Kale's skin began to flicker through bright colors, turquoise, pink, and gold. The humming intensified slightly, though it was still gentle. Eli knew that the next phase of the season was approaching. He took a deep breath, preparing himself. Suddenly, the apartment door slid open with a soft hiss. Eli turned, startled, and saw a group of alien visitors entering. They were humanoid but distinctly different from Kale. Their skin shimmered with metallic tones, and they moved with precision, eyes focused on Kale and the glowing crystals. Eli realized immediately that these visitors were not here casually. They were observers, perhaps even competitors in some alien social hierarchy. Hello," Eli said, stepping forward. He raised his hands in a universal gesture of peace. "This is Kale's space. Please, be careful." Eli understood that the alien was issuing a warning. Intrusion could cause chaos. He glanced at the visitors, who seemed confused by Kale's display. They didn't understand the importance of the crystals, the hum, or the energy in the room. Thinking quickly, Eli activated a small hollow projector on his wrist, displaying calming visuals and soothing sounds. The visitors paused, tilting their heads. Kale's colors softened slightly, and the humming shifted to a more controlled rhythm. Eli realized he had bought enough time to prevent a potential disaster. "See, easy," Eli whispered under his breath, though his heart was racing. "Just stay calm." Eli moved carefully, positioning himself between them and Kale. "Please, no sudden movements. Kale is busy." The visitors seemed to understand enough to hover quietly. Eli felt a surge of pride. Humans could mediate chaos, even in situations far beyond their own biology. Kale's season intensified. The hum grew louder and more complex, layering multiple tones that resonated through the apartment. The crystals responded, spinning, glowing, and floating in intricate patterns. Eli watched in awe, recognizing the beauty and precision in the chaos. He had learned to observe, anticipate, and even assist without interfering. Humans were resourceful, and he was proving it. Suddenly, one of the crystals floated erratically, spinning toward the visitors. Eli reacted instantly, intercepting it with a careful swipe. Kale's skin flickered with bright orange and soft violet, signaling approval. The visitors seemed impressed by Eli's quick thinking. Eli realized that humans had strengths even aliens could recognize: speed, adaptability, and clever problem-solving. By late afternoon, the apartment was a controlled storm of color, sound, and energy. The visitors remained, observing silently, occasionally making gestures Eli didn't understand. Kale continued his ritual, humming and manipulating crystals with precision. Eli stayed near the edge, documenting everything. He had learned the timing of each phase, the color patterns, and even the subtle cues that indicated potential danger. Eli marveled at how far he had come in just a few days. At first, he had been intimidated, confused, and slightly fearful. Now he felt capable. He could anticipate Kale's needs, manage the environment, and even communicate, without words, with both Kale and the visitors. Humans were adaptable, resourceful, and resilient. He was proving it every moment. Night approached, and the intensity of Kale's season reached a new peak. The apartment pulsed with light, the crystals spinning faster, glowing brighter. Kale's humming layered into a complex melody, resonating through the walls and ceiling. Eli could feel it in his chest, a vibrating energy that made him alert, focused, and strangely exhilarated. The visitors were mesmerized, watching silently. Eli realized they had never encountered a human capable of mediating such a chaotic situation. Kale's biology was powerful, unpredictable, and overwhelming, but Eli's presence, calm and capable, provided stability. Humans could shine in even the most alien circumstances. Suddenly, one of the crystals shot upward, nearly colliding with the ceiling. Eli reacted instantly, catching it before it could cause damage. Kale's skin shifted through colors rapidly: soft yellow, gentle green, then a calm violet. The humming softened, almost like a sigh of relief. Eli realized that action, decisiveness, and courage were just as important as observation and patience. Humans had a balance of qualities that even aliens could respect. By midnight, the apartment settled into a quieter rhythm. Kale hovered in the center of the crystal circle, skin glowing softly, humming gentle and melodic. The visitors had left, quietly floating back into the station corridors. Eli sat nearby, notebook closed, simply observing. The season was not over, but the chaos of the day had passed. Kale finally moved toward him, hovering a few feet above the floor. His skin shifted to soft gold, then calm green. He extended a hand toward Eli. Hesitant but intrigued, Eli reached out. Their fingertips nearly touched, and he felt a pulse of energy, not dangerous but alive, communicating trust, acknowledgement, and respect. Eli smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived another intense day and had contributed to maintaining safety and balance. He had learned, adapted, and proven that humans could coexist with alien life, even under unpredictable and intense circumstances. Lying down later that night, Eli reflected on the day. The apartment glowed softly with residual energy from Kale's rituals. The sweet aroma lingered, a reminder that the season was ongoing. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new surprises, and perhaps more visitors. He felt confident that he could handle whatever came next. Humans had intelligence, empathy, and creativity. Those qualities allowed them to thrive, even in environments far beyond their own biology. Kale's humming continued softly in the background, a gentle, melodic rhythm that filled the apartment with life. Eli felt a deep sense of connection, not just as roommates, but as beings from entirely different worlds learning to coexist. The season was far from over, but he was ready. Humans could adapt, survive, and even excel in alien chaos. He had proved it today. The apartment grew quiet, the crystals dimming to soft glows, Kale finally resting. Eli, fully awake, whispered, "Tomorrow we'll see what comes next." He wasn't afraid. He was ready to face the next phase of Kale's season. The challenges would be unpredictable, but humans were capable of remarkable things when they needed to be. Eli felt a thrill of anticipation. Kale's season was intense, complex, and beautiful. It tested patience, observation, and courage. Humans, he realized, could meet those tests with intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. He closed his eyes, listening to the gentle hum, and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He was learning, adapting, and thriving. Outside, the station continued its endless rhythm, unaware of the extraordinary events unfolding in the small apartment. Inside, an alien floated in a circle of glowing crystals, humming melodies that transcended words. Eli, human, observed quietly, a silent partner in this remarkable ritual, learning what it truly meant to coexist, adapt, and shine in a universe full of surprises. The season continued, and Eli, now confident, patient, and alert, awaited the next phase, ready to face it with curiosity, courage, and the remarkable qualities of humanity. The next morning, the apartment was quiet, almost peaceful, though Eli knew that Kale's season was far from over. The air carried the familiar, sweet, electric aroma, but it was less intense than the previous days. Kale floated near the center of the apartment, his skin shifting gently between soft green and pale gold. The crystals, now arranged in a perfect circle, pulsed faintly with light, creating an atmosphere both calming and mesmerizing. Eli rubbed his eyes and stretched. He had been awake before dawn, preparing for the day, fully aware that Kale's cycle would peak again. The intensity was always unpredictable, but he had learned to anticipate the signs: the flicker of skin colors, the rising hum, the subtle vibration in the air. Humans were observant by nature, and Eli had trained himself to notice even the smallest cues. "Morning, Kale," he said softly, moving carefully so as not to disturb the delicate arrangement of crystals. Kale turned his head toward him, skin flickering violet and gold, and emitted a soft hum that Eli had come to understand as acknowledgement. The alien's trust had grown over the past days, and Eli felt a quiet sense of pride. Breakfast was simple: protein packs and water left at the edge of the room for Kale. The alien ignored it for now, absorbed in the glowing crystals. Eli watched quietly, documenting the patterns and movements in his notebook. Observation was a key part of survival and coexistence. Humans could adapt, and Eli had become surprisingly adept at navigating these alien rituals without disrupting them. By mid-morning, the calm shifted again. Kale's skin flickered through a dazzling array of colors: turquoise, amber, and soft pink. The humming grew louder, layered, and complex, signaling the start of another intense phase. Eli felt the familiar thrill of anticipation mixed with a careful sense of caution. He had learned that preparation and patience were vital. Suddenly, the apartment door slid open. Eli froze and glanced toward the entrance. A small group of station security drones floated in, their sensors detecting the unusual energy in the room. Eli raised a hand in greeting. It's okay. No danger, just biological activity, nothing harmful." Eli realized that if the drones interpreted the signals incorrectly, it could cause a major misunderstanding. Humans had a unique advantage: the ability to mediate in real time. Thinking quickly, Eli activated a small hollow projector on his wrist. Calming lights and gentle tones filled the apartment, designed to soothe and redirect attention. The drones paused, their sensors adjusting. Kale's skin softened to a calm gold, and the humming shifted to a lower, controlled tone. Eli exhaled, feeling a surge of satisfaction. Humans could adapt, intervene, and stabilize even in chaotic alien environments. The day progressed with intensity, but Eli remained calm. He observed Kale's movements, anticipating his needs, and subtly managed the environment. The crystals floated, spun, and glowed in intricate patterns. Light bounced off the walls, creating shapes that seemed alive. Eli had come to understand the rhythm of Kale's season, and he felt a sense of mastery in navigating it. Late afternoon brought a challenge. A small group of alien visitors, curious and uninvited, floated toward the apartment, attracted by the pulsing energy and humming. Eli's heart raced. He had already managed one group earlier in the week, and he knew the potential for chaos. Kale's skin flashed bright red and violet, humming sharply. Eli stepped forward. "Please, it's private, biological activity only, nothing dangerous," he said calmly, positioning himself between Kale and the visitors. The aliens tilted their heads, confused but paused. Eli projected calming visuals from his wrist device, and the visitors hovered back, giving him enough time to prevent escalation. Kale's skin shifted to a soft green, and the humming became gentle again. Eli felt the quiet pride of accomplishment. Humans could navigate social and biological chaos, even in alien settings. By evening, the apartment pulsed with light and color as Kale's season reached its climax. The crystals floated in complex geometric patterns, spinning and merging in ways that seemed impossible. Kale hovered in the center, humming a multi-layered melody that resonated through the walls, floor, and ceiling. Eli could feel it in his chest, an energy that was intense but not harmful. Eli moved carefully, documenting everything while staying outside the central circle. He had learned that observation and patience were as important as intervention. The rhythm, colors, and hum created a symphony of life that humans rarely experienced. And yet, here he was, fully immersed and fully capable of coexisting in it. Suddenly, one of the crystals shot toward the ceiling, spinning erratically. Eli reacted instinctively, catching it just before it collided with the light fixtures. Kale's skin shifted rapidly, soft yellow, gentle violet, then calm green, a clear sign of approval. The alien's humming softened, almost like a sigh of relief. Eli realized that humans had unique strengths: quick thinking, precise action, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. Those qualities complemented Kale's chaotic energy perfectly. Night fell, and the intensity slowly subsided. Kale hovered above the crystal circle, breathing steadily, glowing softly. The apartment was still filled with faint light and aroma, but the chaos of the day had passed. Eli sat nearby, notebook closed, taking a deep breath. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had learned, adapted, and contributed to Kale's ritual, proving that humans could coexist and even excel in extraordinary circumstances. Kale finally moved toward him, hovering a few feet above the floor. His skin shifted to soft gold, then calm green. He extended a hand toward Eli. Hesitant but intrigued, Eli reached out. Their fingertips nearly touched, and he felt a pulse of energy, not dangerous but alive with trust and acknowledgement. Eli smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had proven himself not only as an observer but also as a participant, mediator, and protector. Humans were remarkable, capable of adaptation, empathy, and courage in the face of chaos. Lying down later, Eli reflected on the week. Kale's season had tested him, challenged his patience, and forced him to think creatively, but he had succeeded. He had kept the apartment safe, respected Kale's rituals, and even managed uninvited visitors without incident. Humans could thrive even in alien chaos, and he had demonstrated that firsthand. As he drifted toward sleep, Eli realized that his understanding of Kale and of himself had deepened. Living with an alien roommate during mating season had been unpredictable, overwhelming, and exhausting. But it had also been fascinating, beautiful, and full of lessons. Observation, patience, quick thinking, and empathy had allowed him to adapt. Humanity's strengths had proven invaluable. Kale's humming continued softly in the background, a gentle, melodic rhythm that filled the apartment with life. Eli felt a sense of connection, not just as roommates, but as beings from entirely different worlds learning to coexist. The crystals glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Eli realized that humans had a remarkable ability to coexist with even the most alien of beings, to adapt, thrive, and contribute. The next morning, the apartment was quiet but alive. Kale's skin shimmered softly, the crystals pulsing in gentle patterns. Eli rose early, ready to continue supporting his alien roommate. The peak of the season was over, but small cycles remained, and Eli knew they could bring surprises. He was prepared, confident, and curious. Humans had intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Those qualities allowed them to navigate even the most unpredictable circumstances. As Kale floated above the crystals, humming gently, Eli observed and learned. He realized that the season had ended not only with safety and stability, but also with understanding and mutual respect. Kale had allowed him into his world, and Eli had risen to the challenge. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient. They could coexist with alien species, navigate chaos, and even shine under extraordinary circumstances. The station outside continued its constant hum, oblivious to the extraordinary events in the small apartment. Inside, Eli and Kale shared a quiet moment of connection, a testament to trust, cooperation, and the remarkable adaptability of humanity. The season had ended, the apartment was calm, and both roommates had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected. Eli smiled, quietly proud. He had learned patience, observation, and empathy. He had acted decisively when needed. He had demonstrated that humans could coexist, thrive, and even excel in situations far beyond their own biology. The experience had been intense, chaotic, and unpredictable, but it had also been beautiful, enlightening, and deeply rewarding. Kale hummed softly, a gentle, melodic rhythm that filled the apartment with life. Eli felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The season had ended, but the lessons would last a lifetime. Humans were remarkable, aliens were fascinating, and together they could navigate even the most extraordinary circumstances. Eli closed his eyes, finally allowing himself to rest. He had survived Kale's mating season, learned from it, and contributed to it. Humans had adapted. Humans had excelled, and Eli, wide-eyed and amazed, felt a deep sense of satisfaction and pride. Tomorrow, life would return to a quieter rhythm, but he knew one thing clearly. Living with Kale had proven that humans could face even the strangest, most alien challenges and emerge capable, clever, and resilient. The adventure had ended, but the lessons and the connection would remain. And Eli, human, was ready for whatever came next.